Are you a single lady out there trying to figure out if you can retire well or not? Well, if so, this awesome video was made just for you. In today's video, we're going to talk about a single lady, age 61, trying to figure out if she can retire with the resources she has to work with. Hi, my name is Ryan Wheelis. I'm host of the On the Money YouTube channel powered by Allied Wealth. And in today's video is really important to me because there's going to be a major demographic shift in this country very soon to where the majority of wealth will be controlled by women. And it's so important. And I'm certainly not knocking ladies out there who have their handle on this stuff, but so many times when I sit down with a couple, a lot of times the husband handles the finances and the wife just wants to know the money's there and she's safe and okay. But there's some point in time out there to when that husband's likely going to predecease that wife, and it's going to be the wife's responsibility to deal with this stuff. In addition to that, I know plenty of ladies out there who do not have significant others, and they want to know about this kind of stuff. So these are kind of reasons why I made this video, and I hope it adds value to your day. All right, so let's dive in here. So Sally is age 61. She saved $800,000 for retirement, and she's wondering the same common questions that a lot of us are wondering about retirement. It's like, hey, what can I spend? How long will my money last me? What if the market goes down? What do I do about health care, right? What about taxes? When do I take Social Security, right? Can I take it at 62, 67? Do I wait till 70? Should I do Roth IRA conversions and save taxes now or wait to do that later? What should I do about that? And then kind of what contingency should I plan for, like a long-term care issue in the future? And then how do all these decisions that I have to make today impact me down the road, say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and possibly even 40 years into the future, folks? Remember that your generation will live longer than any generation in the history of the United States, of the world for that matter, not just the U.S., all right? So let's dive in here and kind of look at some stuff. The first thing we want to start with is your goals, right? Because you got to have some goals. I mean, what do you want to do in your golden years? What's your vision? Who are you spending time with? Where are you? What are you doing, right? And that's what we will look at. So, Sally's goals here is very simple. She wants to retire at age 62. She's currently 61. She would like to replace her current income. And folks, her current income is $80,000 a year. Remember that number, by the way. It's important for the remainder of the conversation. Of course, she wants to maintain her current lifestyle. She likes the way she lives. She wants to be able to cover her living expenses in retirement, just like she's doing now while she's working. And she wants to worry less and enjoy life more. She's concerned that she can retire, or whether she can retire or not. If she saves enough, can she make it work? And she's getting a little tax being at work. She's kind of tired of working and wants to retire and go enjoy the rest of her life. And the most important thing is she really wants to go spend some time traveling in the front years of her golden years. All right, so we'll look at some more stuff. This is her concerns, and concerns are really important because it's important for us to know what concerns are out there for you, right? If I know those things, I can help plan around them and build some contingencies in the retirement plan to help offset those concerns. So, of course, like many of us, she's wondering, hey, have I saved enough to retire? She's concerned about outliving her money. By the way, 90% of the people that watch the channel are concerned about outliving their money. I think that's probably the biggest fear of retirees today, or pre-retirees today for that matter. She does not want to become a burden on anyone, all right? When she gets older, later on in life, she does not want to be a burden on somebody. She's also a little scared of losing too much money in the stock market. She's taken some hits in her 401k in the years, and she's concerned about that happening before she retires and also during retirement as well. And also she wants to avoid having to go back to work later in life. It's a big fear of hers. If she leaves the workforce, she doesn't want to go back to the workforce. And she's been hearing a lot about inflation and rate raises and all that kind of stuff. So she's looking into all these things as being her concerns. And we try to build a plan for her to help address those concerns and give her the confidence she needs to go out into the world and retire. So basically what we did here is we look at her numbers, all right? We took her age 61, retiring at 62. Her annual income is $80,000 a year. She's saving in her 401k $30,000 a year though, okay? And that's important to look at. And the reason why I say that is, she's trying to replace this $80,000 a year in income, okay? And we're gonna run her plan just like showing her to replace her $80,000 a year in income. But one of the things we have to think about is this, folks. She's saving $30,000 a year in her 401k. So my question is, does she need $80,000 a year in retirement to maintain her current lifestyle? And the answer is she doesn't, because she's not spending $80,000 a year. She's only spending $50,000 a year. So what that means is that Sally does not need to replace her $80,000 a year income. She only needs to replace 50, because when she retires, she stops accumulating and saving money, and she switches over to what we call a decumulation and spend mode, all right? And that's a very important thing to remember, because it takes a major mindset shift for that to happen. So many of us are so used to save, 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 save. Now, when you get to retirement, it's time to spend, 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 but it's time to do that smartly, all right? We don't want to overspend. We also don't want to underspend. We want to enjoy our life and have a solid income plan that allows us to go out into the world and spend money with confidence, even though the stock market may be down, the interest rate environment may be up, or banks may be having trouble, whatever it is, all right? And the next thing here is her assets. She's got $700,000 in her 401k. She's got $100,000 in an investment account. She does not have a pension, all right? We looked at her Social Security numbers. At 62, she gets about $24,000 a year. At 67, about 30, just over $34,000 a year. And lastly, at 70, she gets over $42,000 a year. So kind of when do we do that? When do we take Social Security? And she expects to live to be age 92. She's got long genes in her family. She's healthy. Has no reason to think she wouldn't live that long. And so that was our planning period for her, all right? So basically what I did, folks, is I put this information into our programs here and gave it to our financial planning team. And basically what happened is when I put this in, I ran it at $80,000 a year, all right? Because again, she in her mindset, she needed $80,000 a year in retirement, even though she didn't, because she's saving $30,000 a year. She won't do that in retirement. And the reality is she's living on $50,000 a year, not 80, okay? But nonetheless, I wanted to kind of show her this and help change her mindset. I did in this case, I believe I used 67 for the Social Security numbers. So let's look at what happened, all right? So boom, I click the button here and move the slide forward. And what we got to is the chances of her $800,000 portfolio producing $80,000 a year, including Social Security, by the way. So between the distributions of the portfolio and the Social Security check at 67, she got to a 40% chance of success of meeting her goals. And that was not very comfortable for Sally. But I did this, folks, because I wanted her to realize two things. The most important thing is it requires a mindset shift to retire and to go from that accumulation and saving mode to that decumulation and spending mode that we do in retirement. That was the first thing. The second thing I wanted her to do is I wanted her to realize, A, that she had done a good job saving, because she'd saved $800,000 plus her house was paid for over $200,000. She's a millionaire, okay? And lastly, I wanted her to get the feeling and say, hey, I don't need $80,000 a year. Yes, I make that. I don't need that in retirement because I'm saving that $30,000 a year. And again, I'll stop doing that once I retire, okay? So we look at some ways to start trying to increase the long-term probability of success. Now, a couple of things that I want to tell you that we did to do that. The first thing was we set it at $50,000 a year, $55,000 a year in income per year, all right? And that was her income to cover her expenses, okay? The next thing we did is we said, okay, Sally wants to travel in the front years, all right? So we gave her a $15,000 per year travel budget, okay? And we gave her that travel budget for 10 years. So from age 62 to age 72, she'll spend $15,000 per year on travel. Pretty cool, all right? You can take some really nice trips a couple of times a year on $15,000 a year. So that's what we set up for, all right? And we were looking for ways to make all this work, okay? So let's kind of look through some things here that we also did. All right, next thing. When we ran the probability of success based on the $50,000 a year in income, all right? Excuse me, $55,000 a year in income, and I'll write that back up here. So we'll go back to $55,000, all right, and $15K for 10 years for travel, all right? That got her long-term probability of success up to 80%. And the relief on Sally's face is pretty awesome. She's like, okay, Ryan, that's pretty cool, because that's in this confidence zone up here, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. All right. Now, that's good, okay, but there's some things that we can get that higher. Again, she's got 800 grand. She's going to spend $55,000 a year at 62 and spend $15,000 a year for the first 10 years of retirement to travel, all right? But she was curious, hey, is there some stuff that we can do to get that number higher? And let's look at it, okay? So the next thing we look at is Social Security timing, all right? And what you'll see is over here, you'll see a green circle. Let's talk about how we got to that green circle. Because what we did is we said, okay, if she takes it at 67, we've got it set right now, her long-term probability of success is 80%. Okay, that's not bad, all right? But if she took it at 62, it actually drops down to 72%. Okay, so it's taking it at 62 doesn't make sense because we don't want probability of success going down, all right? So, and then if we look at full retirement age, which is what we did right here, okay, it's the same, all right? But if we go over here to age 70, it increases her chances of success by 2% from 80% up to 82%. Pretty cool, okay? Now, the challenge with this is, though, that we've got to watch for, all right? And this is one of the things that we talk about on the channel, why this planning stuff that we do, it's dynamic, folks. I mean, things change, and we may have to change and pivot in the future. And that's why it's super important to be connected, more importantly, to your money and your financial plan, but also have a good relationship with your advisor so when these things happen, we can spot these things together and quickly work through them and keep you on the path to success, all right? So in this scenario, she gets pretty vulnerable. And the reason why I say that is, if we wait till age 70 to take Social Security, her portfolio has to produce the $55,000 a year for her income expenses and the $15,000 per year for a travel budget, right? So that means her portfolio has to produce $70,000 a year for 8 years up until she retires with no help from Social Security. So the portfolio has to pull the entire load, all right? Now, if we have a good years in the market, the first couple of years that she's retired, we're in great shape, no problem whatsoever, okay? In fact, we might even be able to spend more money, all right? But if we have some negative years in the market in the front years, it may be a scenario where the portfolio is kind of getting hurt, okay? And what we would do in that case is we would simply reevaluate where we are, and we may decide to take Social Security earlier and abandon this plan and wait till 70 because the market's not doing as well as we hoped it would do. All right, now again, if the market's doing really well, we may spend some more money and absolutely wait till 70. And again, folks, the point of the channel is to get your mind thinking like we do with our clients and prospective clients coming on the channel, because we want you to have a clear understanding of what we're doing and why. But if a curveball gets thrown at us, it doesn't mean we get struck out by any capacity. It means we just pivot, all right? And we figure out a way forward, we work together through that to get together through this stuff. So that's Social Security. So based on that, I'm going to reiterate, if we took it at 67, her long-term probability of success is 60%. If we wait until age 70, it goes up to 82%. So our current plan today is to take Social Security at age 70 to increase that long-term probability of success. Now, the next thing we can do is we can look at what I consider to be your largest expense in retirement, okay? And that is the tax man, all right? I think you'll spend more money on taxes in a lot of cases, not all cases, but most of it, by the way, on taxes in retirement than I do healthcare, all right? A lot of people are surprised to hear me say that, but you will pay tax on most money that you would draw from your retirement account, all the money that were from your retirement accounts. And so many of us are so retirement account heavy that we don't have money outside of retirement accounts. What that means is our income will be heavily taxed when we're retired, all right? And oftentimes we have less deductions and things work less for us, all right? And so that can cause us to have to pay more in taxes. So I looked at the taxes in Sally's situation here. And remember, Sally's single, so she doesn't get the benefit of joint tax returns and the larger standard deduction and all that sort of stuff. So she's going to be a little bit higher tax rates for less income. But even with that said, there's nothing here that really scares you because we're spending about $70,000 a year in these front years, all right? And we're paying less taxes because our travel budget goes away in 10 years. Again, it depends. And by the way, on that note, if things are looking good and she wants to keep traveling, she can keep on traveling. But in the event we get to year 10, things aren't looking good, we'll knock the travel back off so that the portfolio can sustain itself and the plan can sustain itself. So again, this could be dynamic. This travel program might go out 15 years depending on how things do, all right? So Nonetheless, the tax situation here doesn't really bother me. Okay, nothing too major there. So in her situation, I'm not going to recommend Roth IRA conversions. And the reason why is her portfolio is currently pulling the load for her, all the load for her income with no help from Social Security. I don't want to add distributions for taxes on top of that, because if I do, it's going to create some problems for her down the road. All right. So no Roth conversions for Sally at this time. Another thing we can look at, she wants to retire at 62, she's age 61, right? Well, what if she wanted to get the probability of success from 82% up to 96%? Well, I said, well, Sally, if you work 2 more years, okay, to 64, 2.5 more years to 64, your probability of success gets up to 96%. And the reason why that is she's going to save about $36,000 in her 401k, including her employer match, for 2 more years, okay, or 2.5 more years in this case. Plus, she's not going to be spending money out of the portfolio. So the portfolio benefits in 2 ways. It gets a 2-year break from having to produce income, and it gets 2 years of additions added to it, all right? So that's one way she could do it, okay, is increase the probability of success by working a couple more years, all right? The next thing she could do is, what if she spent $5,000 a year less on travel? So instead of $15,000 a year, she spends $10,000 a year on travel. Well, if she does that, she'd get up to 88% probability of success. I like 88%. That's a good number. And I'm okay with 82%, by the way, folks, but 88% is also a good number, all right? So there's just some ideas that we have and some levers we can pull, so to speak, to help her get that long-term probability of success much higher, all right? So some other things to think about. These are contingencies, okay? And these are the kind of the what ifs, right? Well, Ryan, what if the market crashes? All right. Well, if the market crashes, it goes down 24% in a year. All right. Her long-term probability of success goes down 36%. Now, keep in mind, in this plan, we're waiting until age 70 to take Social Security. So if this were to happen, this may be a pivot point to where we say, hey, hang on a second. Let's back up here. Let's go ahead and activate Social Security income now, because you're 62. You can take it anytime you want to after you're age 62, right? Let's go ahead and take Social Security income now and stop and reduce the pressure on the portfolio and let it recover as the market recovers. Some other things we can do, folks, is we can use a different allocation to reduce risk and potentially increase return, or we can reduce risk and get more stabilized returns. There's a lot of different things we can do portfolio allocation-wise to kind of help mitigate that much drawdown risk in a down market. But nonetheless, the strategy here is to get you thinking on the channel, okay? In this case, my first idea I would look at is, hey, hang on, Sally. We are waiting to take Social Security until 70. Let's take it now. Let the portfolio breathe. Stop making all of your, making up all of your income, and then use the Social Security income to offset your income from your portfolio and give it some time to recover and kind of look at things in the future, all right? Another example, or another contingency here, something to think about, is inflation. It's all over the place right now, folks. I mean, you can't turn on the television or pick up the Wall Street Journal and not read about inflation, right? So I ran her plan at 2.63%, and the one that gets to 82% chance of success. But I increased it to 4.13%. And this assumes 4.13% over the life of the plan, which I don't think would happen, but over the life of the plan, maybe for a couple of years for certain it could. But this assumes over the life of the plan. Well, if that were to happen, that chance of success goes from 82 down to 64. Okay, what could we do? All right, well, we may dial back some spending on travel for a couple of years until that inflation number goes back down and let things kind of stabilize and catch up, right? If she even didn't spend the $15,000 a year for travel, that would certainly help, right? That would knock this thing right back up to where it needs to be. But again, the point is, it's just designed to get you thinking about what you need to think about when you retire. Other thing we can do is try to shift the portfolio to asset classes that do better in an inflationary environment than ones that don't do well in an inflationary environment. But my point is, there are various levers that we can pull. And we're going to sit down with Sally every single year and go through this planning process and look at these numbers and make sure she's on track and see what changes we need to make sure she stays on track going forward. All right. What about this? And this is one I've been talking about on the radio show and in the YouTube channel a little bit. And I've gotten some people like throwing some darts at me. But guys, gals, I'm concerned that a 20% cut in Social Security benefits could potentially happen to us at some point in time in the future. Now, A lot of that has to do with the fact that in order to fix Social Security, you got to reduce benefits or increase taxes. And I don't know one politician who's going to run on a platform that says, hey, I'm going to cut your taxes and decrease your Social Security benefits and actually get elected. They're not going to do that. So I'm concerned that because they're not going to do anything about it, that the status quo will continue into the future, and there could be a potential chance for a 20% haircut in Social Security benefits. It's something we need to think about and be aware of and cognizant of in the future, all right? If that were to happen to Sally, a 20% cut would be pretty hard on her. The reason why it's harder on her is we waited until 70, okay, to take it. And I think her Social Security number at 70 was about $43,000. So a 20% haircut on that is pretty substantial. Well, if we looked at this and saw that legislation coming down the path, we may say, well, let's take Social Security earlier, or we may have to scale that spending budget on travel back some to be able to maintain her current standard of living, right? Nonetheless, we got levers to pull when it's things we want to evaluate and look at. One other thing, we talked about Sally working longer. So if this bothered her, okay, she's like, that really scares me, Ryan. I may say, Sally, you know what? Don't retire yet. Work 2 more years, right? Let's get that number higher to where that cut in Social Security benefits, God forbid if that actually happens and comes, it's not such a hit to the long-term probability of success number, all right? Next one here is what if her returns are lower than expected, as high as 2% lower than expected in a return in a portfolio? Her success rate goes down to 58%. Again, this is modeled based on her taking Social Security at age 70, so we can decrease the age in which she takes Social Security and take it earlier. That would certainly help offset this issue for sure. Other thing we could do is say, hey, well, why is the portfolio lagging? Should we change the asset allocation? Should we rebalance? Should we put more money towards real estate or stocks or commodities or international? I mean, there's some things we could do to the portfolio to get this number back on track where it needs to be, all right? And the answer to that question is a lot of times, yes, we certainly can, all right? Next thing is the big one here, and that is the need for long-term care, all right? So we ran Sally out to age 90, okay? So she went from 89 to 90. On her 90th birthday, she found herself in a long-term care facility. She had to spend $75,000 a year for 3 years, and she goes and meets her maker at the ripe old age of 92 years of age, okay? Well, if that were to happen, her plan has a 65% chance of success of happening. That's not awful because we've done this later in life, all right? Now, one thing I'll remember, though, remember that house that Sally had that was worth $200,000, okay? Well, if she went into a long-term care facility, couldn't we either sell that house or potentially do a reverse mortgage to get some liquidity out of that house to help cover those long-term care expenses? And the answer is yes, folks, we certainly could. So that house is out there lingering as an asset that actually could be used as a hedge against long-term care. Now that works well in Sally's situation because she's a single lady. That may not work as well for a married couple because the surviving spouse has to have somewhere to live, all right? But for a single person, it certainly can make some differences. So folks, this is pretty awesome to do, for a single lady. A lot of times we do stuff on the channel for, a married couple. A lot of times it's important to talk about single people as well, and really important to talk about the single ladies out there for sure. All right, so I hope you got some value out of today's video. As always, if you like the content we're putting out, please hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel too. We'll keep you updated. We put out more videos like this that can add value to what you're trying to accomplish in your golden years. I'm host of the On the Money YouTube channel, Ryan Willis. Thanks so much for stopping by.